Welcome back to the Vision 79 podcast. For those of you who are just starting to listen, Sandra and I have a shared vision of success in business and our lives in general. His racing number is 40, my racing number is 39, so together we have a shared vision 79. So this is episode 3. We had a 3-week hiatus, which is super awesome for a consistent thing that we're supposed to do every week. But since last time, I have moved, no longer live with my parents. We collected our uniforms for our business, and we're another step closer to signing an NDA to get more additional information, which is going to lead to a solidified financial plan and talking to investors.
Yeah.
And so today I have more quotes this week.
And I'm not sick anymore, which is a plus.
And you're not sick anymore. So now you don't look like dog shit. Or now you don't sound like dog shit, you just look like dog shit.
That's right.
I have quotes this week. I have 6, and I'm going to select my favorites in the middle of the podcast, depending on how it goes.
I have 4.5 questions.
What's a half question?
It's kind of a 2-part question, but they're kind of tied together. So 4 questions, really.
All right. Do you want to start with a quote or a question?
Start with a quote.
Okay. So recently, I've been not going to the gym. This year, really, I haven't been going to the gym the way that I have wanted to.
Mm-hmm.
In the past 2 weeks, it's been because I'm moving. So, I got shit to do, right? And in the act of moving, it fucking tanked me, right? I was super tired for 3 days.
Yeah.
So I don't feel super bad about it, and I've been eating pretty well. But generally this year, I haven't been working out the way I want to. And it's largely because I get off of work, and I have so much stuff for business to do that it's like, fuck the gym. I can work out the rest of my life. I'm just going to do this work stuff because it's got to get done, right? And so the quote is, if you need perfect conditions to start, it means your success is conditional. If you want unconditional success, then be willing to start under any circumstances. That includes the one you're in right now. And I've attributed that to the gym, meaning, you can be tired, you can not have eaten, you can
not feel good.
You can have shit to do, right? But what I've started to do is tell myself, okay, you don't have time. It's not an energy thing. It's not a diet thing. It's you don't have time. So just get in the gym and do one exercise. Do 3 sets of one exercise, and then you can go home. And I get to the gym, and I do 3 sets, and then I go, okay, I've only been here 10 minutes. I can do one more thing, and then I can leave, right? And I do one more thing, and then I'm like, I'll do one more set of the fun exercise, and then I'll go home, right?
Yeah.
And I do that set, and I end up getting more done than I thought I could do in the time allotted. And it's helped me get more consistent in the gym.
This is really similar to one of my questions. So I think I want to tie my answer into it.
Roll into the question.
But yeah, the question is it discipline or motivation that keeps you going every day? And how do you work through the days when you don't feel motivated? Mm-hmm. So for me, something that's helped in the past is to have things I have to hit that day, regardless. And then I have the things I want to hit. So I have 2 or 3 things that I have to do that day. And those get done first. Or I take a small break and then I do them, right? And then I have other things that I want to get done, but if I'm not feeling well or whatever, or I have other stuff going on, or I need to go to the gym or something like that, those get pushed aside. Mm-hmm. But I find it sometimes challenging when it feels like there's so much opportunity to do so much stuff out there that I just sometimes feel like I get stagnant, or I feel like I don't know where to start. For example, I just finished last night finally doing all the invoices for all the cars. And it took me forever because I sifted through from when I started and reformatted them and then coincided them to all of the part purchases, the part invoices, and then laid them all together and stacked. I have a stack this big now of invoices and parts orders in the garage. It took me forever to do. And it was so hard to start that process because I was I don't know how I'm going to sift through all these parts, and I don't know how I'm going to write all these invoices, and is it really worth it? I don't know if I want to do this. And I was no, this is important to me. It's important to have record of this because I see the value of having the record down the line to see what I've done, or if I go to sell a car, it's valuable in that sense too. But I find it sometimes challenging for me to get going, and music helps here and there. Just sitting down and grinding it out. I find that if I spend 5 minutes or 10 minutes on a task, I'll usually get in the groove of that task and continue doing it. But the hardest days are when those 5 to 10 minutes don't get you in a groove. Mm-hmm. It's just like the 5 to 10 minutes turns into another 5 to 10 and another 5 to 10, and you never get in the groove of it, and it's just a constant grind to get through. Mm-hmm. And I don't have a good way to get out of that headspace. I just try to keep pushing for as long as I can, or I just give up and go to bed or whatever. I was wondering how you approach that, or do you have a similar thing where you just like hit a wall and you can't get in a groove? Yeah. Like, how do you approach that?
Yeah, that's how this stuff is getting to me right now. Like after
this stuff is in the baking.
Yeah. Okay. For as long as we've been doing this, it's now starting to get to the point where it's disciplinary, not motivational.
Right.
Because motivational is something that people confuse with discipline really, really often, right? Mm-hmm. They think that they're disciplined because they've done something like every day for 2 weeks, but it's just motivation. It's, you know.
Or they like doing it.
It could be that.
Right. Like, for example, I like going for a drive in the Miata. So it's like, I don't have the discipline to take my Miata 3 times a week, you know, out and go for a drive. It's just something I do because I like it. Or cold showers, you know, some people like cold showers. So it's not, although some people may be off-put by taking a cold shower, for the people who like it, it's not a discipline thing, it's something they actually enjoy.
I suppose. I think that discipline and motivation can be attributed to anything. You can attribute it to positive things, right? Because there's nothing negative about taking the Miata for a drive, right?
Sure.
There is something negative about taking cold showers and that you don't want to do it.
Sure.
Right? And I think that without realizing it, I really established a clear line between discipline and motivation from rowing. Because the number of times I woke up at 4:45, dude, I had snoozed my alarm for an hour every morning now, right? I did not used to do that.
Yeah.
I had one alarm set, and I would wake up to it no matter what volume my phone was at.
Yeah.
And my feet would hit the floor immediately, and I would get my shit together, get out the door, and then I would face down a, no kidding, 95-minute non-stop workout, and then I would do it. And I fucking hated it every single time I did it for a long time, but I did it anyways. And
why did you do it? Because of the discipline, or because of other people counting on you, or because it was important to you, or why?
So it's interesting. It built discipline. Because you don't just have discipline. It's not a switch you can turn on. It's a knife that you sharpen over many years.
Sure.
And it starts with motivation, which is other people are counting on me. I want to get better at this, and I'm excited because I like it, right? Mm-hmm. But over time, sometimes, a great example is over winter break. You train on your own. No one's counting on you, right? You've been training since August. You're halfway to the racing in the spring. So it kind of feels like I could take a day off. There's not pressure to get better. I've gotten pretty far. What's the difference between being good and being great? It's that solo training, right? Mm-hmm. And so those motivational things fall away. I don't want to do it. It's Christmas break. No one's depending on me to do it, and I've already made some pretty good progress, right? And that's where the years of discipline kick you, because you don't give yourself the option to not do it. Because every morning you've woken up at 4:45, you just do it. I think motivation is convincing yourself you want to do it, or convincing yourself you're excited about doing it. You give yourself a treat, you give yourself a prize, you lie to yourself and tell yourself you want to do it. But discipline is just unemotionally getting it done, right? It's sitting down on the erg and doing the piece without thought. You don't like it, you don't hate it, you just do it. And that's what discipline is. And I think that discipline, if you're motivated, doesn't exist because you want to do it, right? But when the motivation falters, which it does, right? You're not going to love an item every single day, right? When the motivation dies back, you need the discipline. And so I think that I don't have a specific strategy for following a discipline. It's just a skill that I've built through, you know, a decade of rowing to the point where I can do something that I don't want to do by just turning the emotion off and doing it.
Yeah. It's something I'm able to do, but not as consistently as I'd like to do. Or for example, getting up for work in the morning. Like I just the motivation is so low.
Right, that's when discipline.
And and the consequences have been minimal.
Right.
So it's like I don't really have an external factor to push me out of bed to go.
Right.
And I have the option to telework in the morning if I want to, which is easier.
Well, and I've suffered that too, right? Because, at my work, it's easy to not go in until fucking 11 a.m. because nobody's relying on me and there's no consequence, right? And so I've gotten soft. and I've gotten weak about it. Now, even for things that I want to do, I'll still set 15 minutes to snooze my alarm. Right?
Yeah.
And I really fucking hate that. I don't want to be that person, right? But I know that if I get to wake up in the morning and work on a business project with you, I'll get back to, I'm going to wake up at 6 a.m. to one alarm ring.
Yeah.
I'm going to do a bike, and then I'm going to get to work.
If there's stuff that's important to me or that I find valuable, given that I'm not in a, other factors are not at play, I'll definitely get up easier. You know, like when we were moving, like the probability of me getting up at whatever it was, like 5:45 or 6, to go move with you. Oh, sorry. The probability of me getting up at 5:45 or 6 to go to work is incredibly low.
Right.
But if you're counting on me to be there so that we can move, then that's a different story, right? Because that's important to me.
And that's motivation. So here's the thing.
Yeah.
Here's what happens. When you and I have a business and we're waking up every morning to go work on the business, we're going to be motivated. And we're going to be motivated for a year, right? And then year 2, day 1, you're going to wake up in the morning and go, fucking dude, I've been doing this for a year. I don't know if I want to get up today, right? But you've already done it for a year. Your body's in a habit. Now you've established discipline, and you're going to get up anyways. So it's not something that you can just suddenly have. Right. It's something that has to be built. And the way I built it was off of extended periods of motivation to build a routine that is unbreakable. And at that point, you can do it whether you want to do it or not, and that's discipline. So for example, for our work, we did it for 3 days, and then we were like, this is bullshit and I don't want to do it anymore. And so we just overslept. There's no consequences. There was no long period of sustained motivation to get yourself to do it.
Right.
And there's no consequences to not going in. So it's tough to build discipline in that regard. But it's still something that I'm not happy about with myself because I know I'm capable of it. I've done it before. I like who I am better when I am that way. But when I wake up in the morning, I think to myself, if I sleep another 15 minutes, that's energy that I can use when I get home from work to build our business, and that's more valuable to me than getting to work.
Sure. Yeah,
so it's rationalization. It's offset rationalization, and it's not something that I agree with or even want to practice, but it's where I'm at in the situation right now.
Yeah. That was one of my questions that I had for you. I think this ties in well to actually the first thing that I have down, which is Joe Rogan talks about this. This is a really old podcast with Joe Rogan, but he's brought it up frequently throughout the years that he's done his podcast, and he says, live your life like a film crew is following you. What would you want to do if someone was making a movie about you? And I thought that was a really cool idea, because there are times when I might be, let's take a silly example, right? Like yesterday I went out for a drive in the Miata to go find mac and cheese because I was starving, so I went to the Wawa up there. And I stumbled on these roads through a kind of bougie neighborhood in northern Melbourne. And they're just the best twisties, super nice roads.
My ex lives in that neighborhood.
Yes,
I know exactly.
They have a private Wawa inside that neighborhood.
Yep.
Which is the one I plugged in, but sadly I wasn't able to get into. Yeah.
Yep.
Super nice area, super fun too. And I got to the private Wawa that I wasn't able to get into, and there was a kind of a three-way intersection there in front of the gate entrance to these homes, and I was like, I'm just gonna rip donuts here for 30 seconds or whatever. So I just ripped 2 or 3 donuts in the Miata, and the plume of smoke was covering what was above me, and the light was shining through it, and it was all foggy and shit. And I looked at my tires this morning, and they're well beyond the wear bar now. So now
it's easier to do that.
Yeah, I was like, there goes $50. But it was in that moment, I was like, I could have just turned around and gone my way, or I could have not taken those roads and not had fun on them. You know what I mean? And just been boring about it. But I was like, I want to live my life, and I want to enjoy it. And it's kind of, if a film crew was following me around, that would be cool. That would be fun. That would be something that I would be proud of. You know, proud of in a different sense of proud. But I thought that quote was really interesting, and I was wondering if you carry that mindset through some things that you do, or have you thought about that before, or do you use that sort of thinking to influence your decisions day to day?
Every day. Because it's not a film crew that's watching you, but it's everybody in your life that's watching you. And even people that aren't in your life but are just in the same room as you, they're also watching you, right? Everybody perceives you in the way that you are every day. And interestingly, when I hear that quote, live your life like there's a doc crew following you, right? I don't think what's some awesome shit I can do. I think, how can I present myself as being a role model?
Yeah, that's the other side of it for me, right?
That's what I think.
The one side of it is like, what's some fun shit I could do that'd be cool, that I wouldn't regret in the future, but I might regret not doing. You know, like if I never ripped donuts in the parking lot and I was 60, I'd be like, man, why didn't I take that opportunity?
Right.
But there's the other side of it too for me. That's like, how can I present myself to be the best version of myself, or at least the best version I can be that day?
See, I can't stop myself from doing head-ass shit like that. Like, in high school, we would go to the Eastern Florida State College parking lot and rip donuts in the middle of the night because their security guards have golf carts. So we would whip a donut, they'd chase us. We'd go to the other side of the parking lot, whip a donut, they'd chase us, and they couldn't catch us. We'd do it for 2 hours and we'd go home, right? Like, I can't stop myself from doing that stuff.
Right.
But what I can stop myself from doing is saying dumb shit or being rude to somebody or coming off as being negative, right? And a couple of podcasts ago, I mentioned that I was just trying to be more outwardly positive, right?
Yeah.
And it's because there's a film crew following me, right? I want to be a positive force in somebody's life, not a neutral or a negative, right?
Right.
And I try to do so in a way that is kind of like Michael Jordan. Everyone wants to be like Mike because he's well buttoned up and he's a presentable figure and he's this star athlete, he's doing crazy things, and he's the best role model, right? There's no scandals, he's not a bad guy, he doesn't swear all the time, you know, he's not a lunatic, right? So half the time I think, like, what would Michael Jordan do, right? Am I that kind of person? And I think oftentimes I am. And secondly, I try and think before I speak now. So I started watching Elon Musk interviews, and the man pauses for 45 seconds between questions.
Yeah, he does pause a lot.
A lot. And I don't need that much time to think because I think pretty quickly. But I try and make sure that my response to things are measured.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, he's also got tens of millions of people looking at him, dissecting his responses too.
Yeah.
So it's like, even if he makes one word fumble, you know, it's a big deal.
Forget a film crew. What if tens of millions of people were watching you? Right. What if tens of millions of people follow this podcast in 5 years and are watching this? Right. And it's interesting that Joe Rogan speaks about this quote because Joe doesn't have like an insane cult following like Taylor Swift or like I feel like Joe Rogan could walk into a grocery store without security, but Michael Jordan can't take a piss at a gas station without bodyguards, right? And most people who are gonna go on to be famous never consider that. They think, I want money, I want friends, I want to be on TV. They never think about what the negative impacts of fame are. And so it's interesting because as young adults, we can consider and live our life such that we think, what would it be like if millions of people were watching us right now? How would I act, right? Because if we build ourselves into that person, then if we ever get to the point of fame where there are tens of millions of people watching us, right, we don't crack under pressure. I was watching a documentary on Sebastian Vettel the other day, and it was dissecting why Fernando Alonso, Alain Prost, and Sebastian Vettel failed at Ferrari, right? Prost failed because he insulted the car, so they got rid of him. Fair, it was a shit car. Alonso failed just barely by, you know, the skin of his teeth, right? But largely he and the team didn't get along. But for Vettel, he had the car, and he largely had the team, but he put himself in a pressure cooker because his entire career, his idol, Michael Schumacher, won at Ferrari, and he wanted more than anything else to win at Ferrari. And it wasn't even the pressure put on by other people, although everyone knows as soon as you join Ferrari, you're immediately under duress, right, because of the Tifosi. But it's all the it's all the stress that he put himself under. And it's interesting to consider, what if there's tens of millions of people watching me right now? Because if I can build that in my head right now, eventually when that comes to fruition, we'll be acting the same. And it will be comfortable for us. There's my monologue.
Yeah. No, I appreciate it. I think that answers the question.
Mm-hmm.
You want to ask another quote?
Yeah, let's see what I got here. I'll add this one in to the discipline one, which is a lot of people like to romanticize burning the midnight oil or waking up at the crack of dawn, but the truth is that success comes from neither of those things. It's just whatever works for you. And I like that because for rowing, I would wake up at 4:45 a.m. and go row. And I was always torn because I was like, well, I don't like waking up early, but I like working out in the morning and getting it done first thing. I don't like being tired in the afternoon. That said, I don't like afternoon workouts because I feel like I have this impending task while I do the rest of my day leading up to the workout.
Yeah.
Then I'm tired after that, whatever. I don't like either, right? Maybe I just don't like rowing. But as far as our business work goes, I can say comprehensively across the board, I like doing our work late at night. And that dichotomy is super interesting because I've always thought to myself, well, fuck, I can't get out of bed until 9 a.m. Who the fuck am I? I'll never make it. I have to wake up at 6 a.m., right? No, you just shift your goalposts, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you work better at night, work better at night. Sleep from 2 a.m. to 9 a.m. I like that one.
Yeah, something I've been thinking about lately is I had a few weeks, a couple months back, where I woke up a lot earlier and went to bed a little bit earlier. And I was getting like 6 hours of sleep consistently, but I woke up earlier and I felt like I was much more productive in that time. And I was just able to force myself to get up and out of bed. And I think starting tomorrow, that's something I want to do. I'm still not sure if I'm going to take PTO tomorrow for work because my voice is still a little bit fucked up. And I do have coughing fits towards the evening. And I had another one this morning where I just couldn't stop. So I'm not sure what I'm going to do for tomorrow. But I still want to wake up early. Like I will be going to work. And I want to pull my bedtime back from like 2 a.m. plus to like midnight. Because although I don't like waking up early, I see the benefits in terms of my productivity when I do wake up early. Because when I wake up later, I feel rushed. And then I feel like I can't get a grip on anything. But when I wake up early, I see it as I have a bunch of time. And so I move through the tasks maybe 10% slower, but they're completed better and honestly maybe even more efficiently overall. Even though I might be working them slower, I might be more efficient overall. So that's something I want to try and do. But I have been thinking about, a lot of the people that we look up to do wake up super early. Or do have these like super strict routines getting up in the morning. And but everyone is different and everyone works differently, and there's certain things you like to do in the morning, certain things you like to do in the evening. So it really just depends on how you work, and you can adapt your life to how you want to work. I mean, at the end of the day, if you're working well and you're being successful, then who's to say that you should be waking up earlier because it's not good to wake up at 9 a.m. or 10 a.m.
Right.
or whatever.
Well, the world wakes up at 6 a.m. New York Stock Exchange starts trading at 6, right?
Yeah.
So, is that true?
Well,
6 or 8?
I think it opens preemptively at 7:30 Eastern or 7 Eastern, and then it opens publicly at 8.
There you go.
But it's still early. I mean, most people do get up at 6 or 6:30 to like start to watch the market, because you can also watch. You can watch other markets that are open 24/7 to get a good idea of what the S&P 500 or other stock exchanges might do. So people do wake up earlier to see the trends before it opens up, because that can give them a good lead on where to go.
Recently, my sleep schedule has been 2 to 9, and I really prefer that. I love that. Waking up at 9 a.m. is still the morning. By the time I've got my shit together and I'm going, it's 9:45. It's still the morning, but I get to stay up late, and because by the time it hits 2 a.m., you're like, it's pretty late. Right?
Yeah.
But the problem with that is everything fucking closes at 10 p.m. So like now I have 4 hours where I can't go buy shit. Like I'm doing a lot of work on the apartment right now, and I can't go buy lights at 11 p.m. because everything's closed.
Yeah.
But if all the work that we're doing is on our laptops, it doesn't matter. And if we eventually quit our jobs, then we can do our work from, if I wake up at 9, let's say we start working at 10. From 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. when everything's closed, that's 12 hours of work to do. And then we can do offline work, so to speak, later into the evening.
Yeah.
But I think that getting up earlier in the morning would be so much more possible if there was something worth waking up for. But right now, I know, okay, as soon as I wake up, regardless of what time it is, I'm going to put my shoes on, I'm going to grab my lunchbox, and I'm going to go to the 9 to 5. And then I'll sit there until 5 p.m., and then I'm leaving, right? So what's the point in waking up early if I'm going to be stuck there until 5 anyways, right? If anything, just wake up as late as possible, recoup as much sleep as you can, and then get in. That's the only way that I see it right now. And I can't wait for there to be something worth waking up for, because then I can start to really push myself in the direction that I'd rather be.
Yeah, I hear that. To kind of piggyback off of this too, I was thinking about this earlier in the week, and I didn't have a clear answer for myself, and I was wondering if you did, but who are some mentors or people that you look up to as you're on this journey? Like, who do you look up to, maybe from a business perspective or from a mindset perspective or from a scheduling perspective? Like, who are maybe 3 people that you look up to?
In my life or just in general?
No, just in general. Like, could be someone online, could be someone that hosts a podcast or whatever. I can go first too if you want to think.
Yeah, I got a couple people rolling around. They're influential people, right?
Yeah.
It's interesting because there's nobody who I want to be exactly like, but there are attributes from different people that I like. Like I said earlier, I like how Elon Musk thinks before he speaks, right? Mm-hmm. I'm doing it right now. But there's no one person who I'm like, that's the guy, I want to be him, right? But give me a couple.
I have the same thing. I don't have like someone that I want to replicate in myself. You know what I mean? There's not like one person that I just want to be just like them. Mm-hmm. And I've never had that, but I have certain qualities of different people that I admire. For example, one family member, probably like the only family member that I really have a strong feeling towards about how they carry themselves is my Baba. Because she just has an incredible amount of discipline and work ethic. Like, she'll get up at 5 in the morning every single day, and she gets home at 7 p.m. or later every single day, or 6 days a week, sometimes even 7 days a week. Mm-hmm. And she's done that for as long as I can remember, and even before I was born. Mm-hmm. And she does love her work, but at the end of the day, it's not every day that you feel like doing that, you know. Mm-hmm. But she just pushes through it and she perseveres. She's always the first one there. She's always the last one out. And I really admire that quality, and I think it's really awesome. You know, I look up to her in that sense. Right. Something she used to say to me when I was younger is like, I would be like, I want to go hang out with friends. We're gonna go to the park or whatever. And she was like, why are Americans always about having fun? You know, she's like, you don't need fun. You don't need fun all the time. Everyone wants to have fun here. And it's like, in a sense, it's like, oh, I'm just a kid. I want to have fun. But in another sense, it's sometimes you just got to push through shit and get stuff done, even if you don't want to do it. And, you know, sometimes life isn't fun. You know what I mean? And so I really admired that. I admire that perspective, and I appreciate her input in that sense. So that's one person that I kind of take a quality from and I want to be like. Yeah. But at the same time, she also can be really judgmental. So it's not like I want to replicate her in myself, but I try to pull positive qualities from the people around me to see what I can implement in myself. Another person that I really admire is Joe Rogan, because he does his thing and he doesn't care if people like it or don't like it. He just has people to come talk on his podcast that he wants to, to host, and he asks the questions he wants to ask with no filter, and he does his thing, right? And I think sometimes that can be a little bit off-putting, but I think that, looking at it more deeply, I think that's kind of the point too. Like, it's just him. And, like, you don't have to like everything he says. He's just going to be himself, right? So I really like that aspect of Joe Rogan. But what are a couple that you have?
I think Michael Jordan, again, to circle back to him, is really close to the top. Not for anything other than his desire to win. Because it's unparalleled. Like, I've never seen another athlete with that same drive. Like, every competitive athlete has, for lack of a better term, that dog in them, right? Like, everybody wants it deep down. One of my favorite quotes, it's not written down, but I know it off the top of my head, is 70% of success is just showing up every day. 20% is putting in hard work, and hard effort. 7% is committing yourself fully, but the last 3% is simply a dogfight. Because there's gonna be other people that put in 97% effort, just like you, and the last 3% is just how bad do you want it, right? Mm-hmm. And I have yet to see an athlete with the same level of I want it more than you in his eyes, and that is really, really motivating to me. One of my quotes that I actually deleted is a Chris Williamson quote, and it's what do you want to want, right? Because what you want and what you wish you wanted aren't the same thing, right? What can you identify what it is you wish you wanted, and then make yourself want that, because that's going to get you there faster. And in his podcast, he was talking about, I just saw the clip, I didn't see the podcast, but they were talking about, like, they're like, oh man, like, you know, if you want, I don't know, a real estate portfolio of $10 million, like, make yourself really want it, and then you'll get there, like, chase it, right? And I gave a lot of thought to it, and I have an answer, and it's a little vague, but what do you wish you wanted? What is your desire that you want to have at your core?
I wish I wanted to... Oh, the first thing that comes to mind, I'm sure there's more than this, but I wish I wanted to get up when my alarm went off in the morning.
That's a good one.
I wish I wanted to, because it really blows when I snooze it and I wake up later than I want to, and then I'm rushed the whole day and I don't get done when I want to. Every single day, it's like, why the fuck didn't I get up in the morning? And then every day I go to bed and I'm like, I'm gonna wake up. I'm gonna do it. And as when I wake up in the morning to that first alarm or third alarm or whatever it is, what I cannot access that part of my brain that rationally sees me as being able to get up. Like, I can't access that memory or that thought. It's just all about, oh, just another 5 minutes is fine, right? And then that turns into an hour or whatever. Or I fall back asleep and I miss all my alarms and then I wake up whenever. I wish I wanted to get up in the morning.
It's a good one.
Yeah.
I think that you can hit that really effectively. I think there's 2 or 3 ways to do it. The first is, and you know, I reiterate this one, but in our time living together at my parents' house, we learned if you don't get X numbers of sleep the night before, your body will not wake up to it, right? Easy fix, just get more sleep, right? But the lack of motivation to get out of bed and just keep snoozing isn't I didn't wake up, it's God, I fucking don't want to, right? And I feel that every morning, because every morning I think, I'm so tired, I don't want to go to this thing that I'm about to go to, fuck it, snooze. There's no repercussions, right? There's 2 fixes to that. Number 1 is discipline, right? Which is just continually doing the thing that you don't want to do. And if it's positive motivation, right? Awesome. We'll build a business together, we'll quit our jobs, then you want to wake up every morning, you'll build that discipline. If it's negative discipline, right? You can, you know, we can wire a timer to a small motor with a bucket of cold water over you. And if you snooze and sleep 10 minutes past your alarm, it dumps cold water on you, right? And then you get home that night, you got to change your sheets and you fucking whatever, it's a wreck and you're cold, right? Yeah. The next morning, you will not snooze because you know you've got that water set up, right? Because at night, you're like, fuck me, man, fucking, I'm not going to oversleep, I'm going to do it. You're going to fill the water up and set the booby trap. And then in the morning, your alarm will go off and you'll go, God damn it, yesterday sucked, and you'll get out of bed, right? Those are 2 ways to do it.
Yeah, I slept in the car a few nights.
Yeah.
And that actually got me up early because it was like, it was not just, this is uncomfortable, because it actually wasn't that bad, and I can fall asleep fucking anywhere, so it really doesn't matter to me. Right. It was less about the comfort and more about the fact that if I stay here any longer, people are going to start walking by with their dogs and see a dude sleeping in his fucking car when he's next to his house, and that's fucking embarrassing. Like, I gotta get my ass up, you know what I mean? Yeah. And so that got me up pretty effectively. But I'm thinking about having I want to write how I feel at the end of the day when I wake up late and why it's so frustrating, and have that taped to my alarm so I have to look at it when I go to like snooze or turn off or reset my alarm or whatever.
Yeah.
So I think I'm gonna do that, and I don't want to have to sleep on the floor or the car. Like, I want to be able to sleep in a bed, you know, because it's fucking not the greatest experience sleeping on the floor.
Well, you want good sleep. You want good rest.
Yeah. So, and you know, I think another thing I struggle with is I get on, you know, I wake up late one day and then I'm like, oh, okay, it's fine. I'll stay up late tonight and then I'll get up earlier the next day and I'll reset it that way. But then I wake up late the next day and then I stay up late and wake up late and stay up late, right?
Yeah.
And it's like I can't get myself to pull back and just go to bed at like 11 or 12 and wake up early the next day because I'm like, oh man, well I'm missing out on like 3 hours today that I could be working,
right?
You know. And so that I think just takes discipline and being like, hey, you fucked up today, you're gonna learn your lesson. Go to bed early.
Yeah.
Go to bed at the regular time. You know. So I think those two things are something I'm gonna implement starting this week.
You know, one of the Hermosi pieces of advice is don't set an alarm for when you need to wake up. Set an alarm for when you need to go to sleep. That's a real quote.
Yeah.
And so if you,
I do have that on my phone. I have it'll go into sleep mode after a certain time, and notifications won't pop up and stuff like that, and the screen changes and all this other stuff.
Yeah.
But it's not an alarm. It's just like the phone changes. So
If
I could blow past it and not realize it, and then pick up my phone an hour later, and then it's in sleep mode.
If you set an alarm for like 11 p.m. and when it goes off, you go, all right, I got to start wrapping it up, and you immediately go into your nighttime routine. Having a nighttime routine is proven to help sleep quality and sleep effectiveness.
Yeah.
So if you can have an alarm that triggers a half-hour sleep routine, right, where you start to button up everything and go to bed.
Yeah.
Not only do you force yourself to go to bed earlier, but at the same time, you'll get more effective sleep. Right. One of the reasons that I've been hunting for my Whoop is that I'm really unhappy with two things. Number one, my sleep quality, right? Because I know I'm not getting enough sleep and that's affecting me. And number two, my resting heart rate, because I'm a fat piece of shit and I'm a retired athlete, and that's a terrible feeling to have, right? But I have enough drive to pursue that. I'm going to start wearing the Whoop. I'm going to start doing cardio. These things. I did a bike yesterday at Crunch, right? We got to the amenities at the apartment and our key fob didn't work, right? And it would have been so easy to say, all right, we're just not going to do a bike today. But instead I said, nope, fuck that. We're going to go to Crunch, we're going to do a bike, and then we're going to get on with our day, right? And we did. So if I want it bad enough to make that happen, awesome. It's going to happen. If you want to wake up early enough in the morning that you're willing to sleep in your car, most people, if they can't wake up in the morning, right, are just going to change from job to job because they'll certainly be fired. No one sleeps in their car to try and wake up the following morning, right?
Yeah.
I think your problem is, in the morning, the problem is very apparent. It's clear and present. It's, fuck, I overslept. But at night, you're like, it's midnight, I'm getting work done.
Right. Well, that's
why
I wanted to
tomorrow doesn't exist, fuck it, right?
Yes.
I have the same thing. I've been up till 3:30 the past 4 nights.
Yeah,
every
I
morning
went to bed at 3:30 or 4 last night.
Yeah, every morning I wake up and I'm like, fuck, bro. Like today, Grace and I didn't get to the beach until like 1 because I woke up at 10:30 and I was like, oh, I probably should have gotten up earlier because now we're going to be doing this until 10 at night and then I have to meal prep at home, right? So I understand, right? Yeah. But back to the what do you wish you wanted quote.
What do you wish you wanted?
I wish I wanted one thing more than anything else. Anything else. One clear goal to just relentlessly pursue. One of the reasons Michael Jordan is one of my people, from your question, is because he had a very clear defined one goal. And he wanted it more than anybody else, which is I want to be the king of basketball. And he is, has been, will be, right? It's just I'm going to wake up every morning and work as hard as fucking possible to be the best basketball player as I can be, right? And what's challenging about our position is every morning what I want is just a little bit different because everything is so far ahead of us and so ill-defined, right? We don't have a niche, we don't have a ton of experience, we don't have money to invest, we don't even really have training in anything. All we have is drive and like young energy where we want to do stuff, and that's great. But we don't have like a very clear direction yet. All I know is that we're going to get there, I just don't know how. But what I really wish I wanted is one specific thing more than anybody else.
There's a great, this is a brand new, came out a couple days ago, I think, Modern Wisdom podcast, about, it's about billionaires and their mindset and like if they're happy or not or whatever. It's a 2-hour podcast, I'm about 45 minutes in, something like that. And one of the things they talk about is all of these billionaires just have something that they stuck with forever. It was like copiers for 35 years. Or like, software engineering for 25 years or whatever it is. It's just like they just have something that they just stick with and stick with and stick with. And I'm interested to hear the rest of the podcast because they were just starting to get into it and I paused it and haven't picked it back up. I was listening last night. But, tied into that same idea.
There's a Hermosi quote that, again, I didn't write down. All the quotes I'm using, I didn't write down. I just know them off the top of my head. One of his quotes is, you don't get rich off of multiple revenue streams. You stay rich off of multiple revenue streams, right? Use one channel to make a ton of money. And then, once you have all that money, invest it in 1,500 different things that all give you different income streams, right? If you're 20 and you have 5 businesses, right, that are all bringing you money, you're going to be stretched so thin, you'll die. But if you have copiers or cat food flavoring or whatever, and it's one thing you get really good at and you grow and build, right, you'll be a billionaire and then you can buy real estate companies and small businesses and car shops, whatever you want, right?
Yeah.
And that's really interesting because what I want is that one thing. I want the one thing that I can get really good at and want more than anything else and just excel, right? And for a while I thought that was real estate. But the problem is you can't get into real estate investing if you don't have money to invest, right? So then I task switched to what we're doing now, what we're about to do with this NDA and these investors, and now this is what I'm on rails for, right? But that could change.
Yeah.
And, it's tough to just identify, and it will come in time, right? But in the meantime, that's the one thing that I wish I had.
Yeah, I hear you.
Interestingly, recently I love the apartment so much, right? It's my favorite place to be, and I'm super happy there, right? So when I come home from work, I'm like, this is where I want to be, and I fucking hate that. I don't like it, right? I don't like being super comfortable because it takes away that hunger, and it's interesting because my brain can never be all happy or all dissatisfied. It finds a balance of both, right? If I'm unhappy, it seeks the place where it's like, hey, go here to be happy, and then I'll go there, right? If I'm all happy like I am right now, that's why I'm so upset about my resting heart rate. I could not tell you what my resting heart rate is right now. I haven't measured it in 2 years, right? But now I'm comfortable at home. I'm not feeling pressure or stress. I have that steady stream of income, and I'm feeling myself.
You're the alligator that just ate.
I'm the alligator that just ate.
Yeah.
I'm complacent, and I can feel that happening. And my inner brain is starting to thrash against the cage of my own self, which is, I cannot be this way. And that's why I'm tweaking out about my resting heart rate. And that's why I'm getting back into biking and cardio pieces, because that's my bread and butter, is go hard for 45 minutes and then go twice as hard for 15 and close out an hour of power. Like, that's where I'm getting to. I hated that fucking Whoop in college. The only reason I have it is because our coaches gave it to us over COVID to prove that we were doing our training at home. And afterwards, they were like, this is great telemetric data for us to, track your health. And it called me out every day for sleeping 3 hours and then showing up to practice. And then, training way too hard for the amount of sleep that I had, right? And if I'm at a point where I want the Whoop, it means that I'm not confident in the hard work that I'm doing physically. Because at the time, I was like, I don't need the Whoop, I know I'm working hard. But now if I'm like, I need the Whoop to hold me accountable, it means I've got a fucking problem, right? And if I'm worried about my motivation and discipline and how hard I'm working in the gym, it means that I'm really not getting anything done in the business world, and it's because I'm comfortable at home, which is good. I want to be comfortable at home, but I can understand now how easy it is for all my coworkers to get off of work and go home and go, and just sit back and not do shit. Because it's so easy to fall into that. I can understand why my parents are the way they are right now, right? It's so easy to do, and I'm super, super
scared of that?
aware. I'm aware. I'm aware of it, yeah. And I'm fighting it actively every day. And, the war is just starting.
Today I was thinking about TikTok, because I've been really good about social media use up until the last 2 days or 3 days for whatever reason. was like, fucking why every opportunity I have to like, take a dump, or I'm fucking sitting at Paul Hana to, waiting on a drink, or I'm waiting on something to print out of the printer, I'm like, oh, let me check TikTok. It's like, why? It's like, do I really need to delete this, or like, can I control myself? And so.
You have the screen timer on it?
I do, but the password doesn't work. It doesn't register.
So like, you can just say, let me in.
Yeah, or sometimes it doesn't even do the screen time. Like sometimes I won't even hit it. I don't know why. So I think that the password has to be set first, and then the
time
limits made versus the limits made and then the password. So we can redo it.
Let's do it after this.
Yeah, we can do it after this. But that's something I was thinking about. But the last point I think I want to ask, this is the last point I have at least on here, is what do you hope to get out of the journey that you're on right now? Through business, through mindset, through morphing yourself as a person. Like what's your one goal or one grasp that you really want to get out of this experience?
I want to be able to help other people.
Okay.
In any
what
capacity.
sense?
In any capacity that I can. So a great example is when I graduated college, my high school rowing coach wanted me to become a coach. He had been training me to coach through all of high school and then all of college, and really wanted me to come do it. And when I graduated, this was around the time that you were amping me up and saying like, dude, time isn't exchangeable for money, like we can make millions, and I was like, oh man, right? And when I was faced with the idea of coaching, I was like, dude, this is like an extra $500 a month. Awesome, right? I could make a little extra change, but it's at the expense of my time. It's an extra 4 hours a day. That's going to be, 12 hours a day of working. That's a lot.
Yeah.
I don't know if I can do this. And ultimately, I started thinking, what value can I add to the team? Because I coached in May and April, and the kids love me. And I think I really did make a big impact on them, and that's something I'm super proud of, and something that I'd love to get back to. But I think that I can provide more. I can see the problems that the team has. It's all political. It's all monetary. I think the best way that I can give back to that team is by making a shitload of money and then donating millions to them. Because money is the lubricant of politics, right? And if I can just give the coaches the salary they deserve, buy the equipment that the kids deserve, right? Make the money problems go away, right? Then I think all of their issues are going to kind of ease back a little bit. If I can establish a consistent board. But it's not just money that I want to be able to give to people. It's also advice and connections. Because right now, all the advice that we're giving to the people watching, no one's going to take, because we're just a couple of bums. We haven't done anything, right? But the reason we're doing it is because we want in the future to be able to look back and go, no, I've always been the person that I am today, right? I've always been introspective. I've always worked on myself, and I've always done personal growth. I was never a teenage dirtbag, right? Like, I have always been in this journey. And when we do have the success behind us to back our advice, kind of like Joe Rogan, people say, Joe's always been this way, now he's just famous, so people think it's new, right? We've always been this way, we will always be this way, but we'll have the success to back us up, right? Example, someone from the bar came up to me the other day and they said, hey Mason, I know you and Sandra are getting started on this business journey. Remind me to talk to you about that later off camera. And he was like, I'm doing this new video recording stuff, and
he came up to me too with the drone.
Yes.
Yeah.
He was like, I want to do some video recording stuff. I'd love to do stuff for you. And I was like, man, I'm super flattered. I'd love to pay you. And he's like, no, I'll do it for free. And I was like, oh, I would of course pay you, right? But we don't have anything for you to film right now. Circle back in a couple months. And he was like, oh, okay, thanks, man. And then I was like, don't go anywhere. My high school rowing team uses promotional videos to recruit because it's difficult for them to get into high schools to give a speech. So they post on Facebook a lot to appeal to the parents of the students who then sign their kids up for the camps and the team. Here's their contact information. Send them an email, name drop me. They will have you out on the water in the boat. You can compile a whole video. One of my other friends was a videographer. They paid him to do it. They'll probably pay you too if you want to make some money. If you just want something for your portfolio, it's totally fine, right? But the kids love being filmed, and the coaches love it too because it's free publicity or cheap publicity. So here you go. And I'm not at the level of success that I want right now, right? But the ability to help someone when they have a problem by referring them to the right person or the right company is awesome. I want my name to have enough, um,
Backing.
respect. It's not clout and it's not like fame. I want my name to hold enough respect that when somebody goes to someone I've referred them to and they say, oh, Mason Yaskovic sent you, I want them to go, oh, Mason's a great guy, what can I do for you, right? I just want to make connections happen for other people because I know how awesome it is. Dude, it's happening right now with this NDA. We are so happy and so excited to sign this NDA because as soon as we do that, we're going to be introduced to people who we don't have access to right now, right? And I want to be that middleman later on. I want to be able to introduce people to people. That's what I want to get out of all this. What do you want to get out of all this?
For me, I want to find the best version of myself and become that version. And I think that to get to that place, it's not about, I can't remember who said this. This is a really old, like, interview style podcast that I watched. It was like televised live and probably in the 80s. It was, older film. And he was like, it's not about becoming the millionaire, and it's not about getting the million when you become a millionaire. It's about who you have to become in order to get that million. And that person along the way is the person I want to find. That's what I want to become. And that's what I want to see in myself. And so I want to create that person inside me and find that best version of myself. And that's what pushes me to keep trying. And so it's I think different from yours. Well, I don't know if it's really different. Maybe it is. The first thought that comes to mind is that your push feels more externally driven versus my push feels more internally driven, although both are motivational in their own sense. Or maybe not quite, but what's your take?
I think so. And I think that's a correct analysis of it. And I think it's because I already have the internal push, right? Mm-hmm. I think I already am the millionaire. Right. I already am the billionaire. I already am the person capable of that. I have mistakes still to make. Yeah. I have lessons still to learn, and I still have a ton of personal growth to do. But I think at my core, especially given everything that I've been through already, and the values that I've accrued, and the pain that I've gone through, and the growth that I've already done, I think that especially for my age, I'm very well balanced, and I can make tough decisions correctly many times. And that's what leads me to think I'm already the person who I need to be. I just have to figure out how to get there, right? I think that's where I'm at. And I say that because I'm very well measured. I can see other people's perspectives. I'm not stuck in my ways, in my own perspective. And ultimately, I don't have a lot of judgment or hate in me.
Don't you think you'll morph as a person as you figure out how to get there, though?
Absolutely. Absolutely, I will.
Okay.
But I don't think it's a huge jump from where I am now.
Okay.
There's not much that I'm super unhappy with myself about. Yeah. A lot of the things I wish I did better or felt differently about are within my purview, like this heart rate thing.
Yeah.
That's a material thing. I wish I went to the gym more, right? Yeah. And guess what? I'm going to the gym more. It's happening.
I feel like I'm racing on a racetrack and I know the lines and I know my braking points and I know my acceleration points, but I haven't gotten into the flow state yet.
You're me on any race course.
But it's like, I'm doing the race and I'm running my lines and I'm, taking the apexes and taking opportunities when I see them. But I'm not like in that God tier flow state where it's just like I don't even recognize that I'm driving anymore, but I'm going beyond what I thought is even physically possible when watching a video of it. Mm-hmm. So that's the level I want to achieve, and I feel like I'm in a spot below that, and there's a small ladder with a lot of runs on it to get to that spot.
I know what that ladder's called.
What?
It's confidence.
Yeah.
And it's not confidence in a egotistical sense where it's like, I know I'm the shit. It's the confidence in that, okay, it's 4 a.m. and I have to be up at 6 a.m., right? It's the confidence in knowing I'm going to get up when my alarm goes off. That's what it is.
Yeah.
And that comes in time.
Yeah, I think I agree with that. I hear that. I never thought about it from a confidence perspective.
I think that's what it is.
That's interesting, though.
When I try and find problems with myself to solve, what I really come across is when I think about stuff I don't like about myself, I don't find a lot. I'm pretty happy with who I am, and I'm pretty content with who I am.
Mm-hmm.
And that doesn't stop me from finding things to fix every once in a while. But when I come across a problem, any problem, at work, in our business, in my personal life, in my own head, I have the confidence that I'm going to get through the problem just fine. Even if everything blows up in my face and I fuck up, which happens, I have the confidence that everything's going to be okay. It's just stable.
Yeah.
And, you know, if you still have a lot of things that you want to change about yourself and you've tried different things and it hasn't worked yet, it can almost seem like, oh, fuck, maybe I'm not going to make it. Maybe I'm not going to get there. Mm-hmm. And that's a lack of confidence that I think comes in time. I think to be the millionaire or be the billionaire or be an elite racing driver like Max Verstappen, you need to have that unshakable confidence. And just like discipline, it doesn't come overnight. You can't just turn it on and off. Right. It is built.
Yeah, something I'm working on.
Yeah.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Do you have a quote or two you want to wrap us up with?
Let's see. One of them is, you can make excuses or results, not both. Mm-hmm. And I like that. If you're making results, then, you know, you have nothing to...
Yeah, you have no excuses to make.
Right, exactly. And, you know, I'm a firm believer in never making excuses. I like explanations at best, but when you fuck up, I like people to just say, I fucked up.
Yeah.
Seek out discomfort. It's the only place that growth happens.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good one.
Very
I like
true.
that. That's one of the reasons that I want to start biking. Because after moving, I was like tired for 3 days, and I was like, dude, this is a quarter of one of the workouts I would do in college, and I'm winded for 3 days. Fuck you. Get it on the bike.
Yeah. And
the last one that I really liked that I found the other day was, you get money from yeses, you get time from nos, and you get nothing from maybes. If someone says yes to something, you're certain to make money. If someone says no, it's an opportunity for you to do what you want with your time, right? Or if you say no to somebody, it's an opportunity for you to do what you want with your time. If you're at the bar and someone says, hey, do you want to play a game of pool? You can say no, and that gives you the opportunity to do what you want with your time, right? Yeah. Nobody gets anything from maybes. Yeah. You got one foot in the door and one foot in the hallway and nothing's happening.
Yeah, I like that. That's a cool one. Mm-hmm. Yeah, something I've been thinking about lately is something called the yes theory, which essentially
the yes theory.
Yes, yeah, okay. Y-E-S, yes theory. And I haven't dove into it really deeply, but essentially, from what I've gathered, is essentially you just say yes to whatever activity. If someone asks you to go skydiving and you're afraid of heights, you just say yes, right? And it puts you in positions of discomfort and positions that you normally wouldn't be in, where you can see yourself grow and push yourself to, you know, develop as a person. But it also could open doors to more opportunities that you might have not foreseen otherwise, right? Mm-hmm. Like if someone asks you to help them build a bar or something like that, and you're super busy, but you say yes, right? Maybe that opportunity then opens up another door for you to open your own bar, or it makes a connection in some distribution world where you can get some different products, and maybe you can figure out how to market those and stuff like that. So kind of in that sense too, tied to that is something I've been thinking about, is that yes theory thing.
Interesting.
So I thought it was cool. I thought it was a cool idea.
Yeah. I'm a huge fan of the no theory, which is the polar opposite of that, which is practice saying no to people because it's uncomfortable. It's super easy to agree with people, but especially for little things that aren't a big deal, like a game of pool at the bar. Yeah. Right? If someone, like, there was a guy at the bar a couple weeks ago, or maybe last week, I think you had a chat with him. He was like, hey man, like, you know, are you up for a game of pool? I was doing drills on the pool table, right? And he was like, hey man, do you want to play? And I was like, I'm just shooting drills for now, thanks.
Shorter guy?
Yeah.
Longer hair?
Yeah.
Yeah, Chris. He does the All-State drills.
I wasn't going to name drop him.
Oh, I'm sorry. I can bleep that out.
He came up to me, he was like, do you want to play a game? And I was like, thanks man, I'm just doing drills for now, right? Because in the middle of working, I like to take a break and I like to practice the skill and just space out and focus on the ball and nothing else. Yeah. And he was like, cool, let me know later. And I was like, all right. So I went back to work. He circled back around later. He was like, hey man, want to play a game? And a part of me was like, it's polite to say yes. It's a 10-minute game. Just go
Mhm.
play. You'll make a friend, right? But the other part of me was saying, dude, you have so much shit to do. Like, this guy seems super nice, and he could be a great friend, but you're so far behind on stuff right now, you gotta take the time to do it, right? And so, politely I said no thanks, another time. And I meant that, because there will be a time down the line where I have 10 minutes to play, and I can cut loose and have fun or something, but I don't today, and I need that time for me. So the yes theory is great for getting yourself out there, but it's got to be well timed, because sometimes you have to use the no theory and take the time for yourself.
Well, it's interesting because they both seek to put you in discomfort. Right? The yes theory is you say yes to things that you normally wouldn't say yes to that put you in an uncomfortable situation, right? Mm-hmm. And the no theory, you say no to things that you would want or could want to say yes to, and it puts you in an uncomfortable position.
That's a good way of looking at it.
So they're both kind of, they're two different sides of the same coin, in a way.
Yeah. It's seek out discomfort. It's where growth happens.
Yeah. There's actually a YouTube channel called Seek Discomfort. I haven't watched many of their videos, but they do, some of the stuff that they do is they take trips to other countries that are like, by the news media are like war-torn nations. And they go there and they just like go there to meet the people and like interact with the people. And they actually have a lot of really cool stuff that they find. Mm-hmm. And so I haven't watched a lot of their stuff, but...
Like the inside of a POW camp.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah.
I could never fucking do that.
Yeah, they're wild stuff.
No way, dude. That shit's crazy.
Well, I think that wraps it up for us, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, get out to do some baking.
An hour.
Wow, really? That flew by.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
No kidding.
Well, initially we were going to do like once every 3 weeks, like a 1 or 2 hour podcast, and instead we did the
the shorter ones. Well,
so,
yeah. I guess this works.
Yeah, we'll wrap it up.
There hasn't been one in a bit, so it's okay if the following one's a little longer.
Yeah,
so,
we'll just post 7 videos to YouTube.
Yeah, I think I can make it up.
Alright, cool.
But cool. Right. Thank you everyone for tuning in. We'll see you next Sunday.